Hi, it's Chris again with Forex through P, where the Forex market intersects with philanthropy. And today is Friday, May 1st. Happy May Day, beginning a new month at what seems like the end of the month because it's end of the week. But this is the beginning of May. And we have been in what they call trending season in the trading world. Um, Typically ends mid to late May before a summer lull. We can trade all through the summer. We can trade throughout the whole year, but I'm just reminded of the fact that we've been in a season of maybe 2 to 3 months of lots of moves in the market. Spring and fall tend to have the most robust moves, and then summer and winter tend to flatten out. But no matter, because in the last 24 hours, we've had quite a bit of movement. The larger time frame we can look at in a bit to see if we can make sense of where the overall trend is. If I do that now, it'll be messy with all the little scribbles I've drawn. So we'll get to that toward the end here. But I wanted to show where we left off with our big black vertical bar here is where yesterday's recording stopped. And oops, I didn't mean to grab it. This thing is sticky. And since that time, we had this ascending, expanding wedge, triangle, you name it, more open-ended here than here. So it's an expanding channel. I always guess for the terms because different traders call them different things. You could find this and it would be called an expanding triangle. And I suppose if these points were to go on farther to the left, it would make a tip or a point. I don't care. You get the sense that it is uptrending and it has an expanding space here. And so yesterday after the recording, we had the afternoon, which was kind of quiet. But first of all, let's do the count. I'll go down into each micro pattern in a moment. But just to give you a heads up, this one yielded 15 pips. This skinny little thing here, no wonder it hit 5 pips. It actually went further, but the measurement was for 5, which was safe. Overnight, when I was not trading in this time zone, there was a 13 pip move here. Here's a nice downtrending channel here that broke out up to about 15 pips. And the one that's currently in motion will probably bottom out at about 22 pips, give or take. This is all very rough. It depends on where your entry was if you were trading the breakout. But this is possible pip gathering for a reasonable entry at breakout and then a close at the measured destination. Anyway, this all adds up roughly to about 70 pips since yesterday's broadcast. And not there yet, but with all this tapping along this line here, at some point it will break through, cross through. That's not this green line here. That's a profit line for this guy here. And having measured this opening, it might be a little bit short, but let's just say for conversation, it will go to this lowest of the lows over here, which is about right. It's the same distance as the measurement, and that's 50 pips. So that's not $120 or 120 pip day yet, but this is where we're heading in the future. I think it makes a lot of sense given what this pattern is doing. I'll talk about this trend reversal in a moment, but when I woke up and was conscious enough to take a look at the chart, I did see what looked like a double top. It turns out it was. So that's exciting. And I will zoom in on that in a moment, but that is a trade that I am in actively right now, selling off this double top. So let's get closer into the micro environment. I'm going into the 1-minute chart now. And pardon all this movement until I get all the way over here. There's probably an express way to get there. I'm not going to do it. All right. So after yesterday's show, we had this movement up. I don't see a trend reversal signal here. It just topped out and then just came down. So that might have been tricky to catch. I did see 1, 2, and 3 points of confirmation along the line, so that when it did break out, I went with it. I actually traded this one. And of course, it meandered so very slowly before it got down to this level here, this previous level of support right here where the dotted line is. It took, quite some time. Let's pull it here. Yeah, way over here is where it finally hit the 15 pips. Pretty slow, but determined and deliberate. Moving on over here, an even thinner channel. I didn't trade this one. This was super short. And when it broke out, it whipped out, and then it was like, we're done, and then it went off back down again. So this would have been really whippy, as they say, to trade this. It was only good for about 5 pips in my estimation. But, every pip counts, so that would have been 5 pips had we traded that. And then we go into the late evening, really thinking maybe the breakout was going to happen along here. It just kept hitting this line. I could adjust it, to there maybe. But yeah, it was such a thin market moving so shallowly, if that's a word. Could have anticipated a breakout, but no, that didn't happen. Then meanwhile, in Slumberland in the West Coast, this developed a nice ascending, narrowing channel here. And this, however, I'm glad I wasn't awake and active on this one, because this is one of those things that we wouldn't have seen if we were not awake and paying attention. But I wanted to point it out because it is one of those things that can trouble a trader. So I've measured this distance here. This seems to be the widest point of the channel, and that's what you measure when you're doing the extension to the intended profit target. And then look what happened. Okay, I would have placed this, sorry if it's all very confusing, I would have placed this line here, which to me would have corresponded with this previous low right here, this point here. But the price never got there, because see, it came down. Not a lot of signal here to tell you that that's where it was going to stop, right here. And it never came down to this level right here, ever. It will before the day is over, or this whole channel is played out. But that would be too long. I mean, when the fact that it pulled back up to the entry level and eventually went on, you'd be stopped out, or you would have, it wouldn't make any sense to continue to trade this. So how would we know to have stopped here? I don't know. That's one of those things where you just press the stop button and close the trade, or you take a loss, or you have a tight stop so that when it hit here and pulled back, you could have stopped out. So this would have not been a very happy moment. I put 13 here because it did go for 13 pips, but I would have been fooled, because I would have gone right down to here. That to me was logical. So anyway, that's just a little thing that happens. You got to keep an eye open. It doesn't happen as often as the successful trades, but unless I didn't measure this channel correctly, and it's a hidden in there somewhere, and you can tell me if you see it differently. And now here is a descending triangle or wedge. It's remaining true to the bottom line, which was relatively flat across here, while it tapered down. I like this pattern for illustration purposes, because you see the real clear 1, 2, 3 breakout. So if there's any doubt in our learning on what is this 1, 2, 3 breakout business, this is the best example because they're spaced out so far apart and you can really see what I'm talking about. It's when they're all like gang together at the last minute, it's really hard to, you just don't entirely know, you almost have to guess. But this is very clear. You see 1, 2, 3, connect the dots with your line. You know that eventually it will come through on the 4th. There is no 4th because it goes right through as it did. Here is the measured target more or less. And that went for at least 15 pips. It actually went quite a bit further. I would have safely stopped at about 15 pips, maybe when it topped out right about here or something. But yeah, it went on probably for 30 if you want to count this. Okay, so now let's get into the morning hours when I'm more awake. And let's see if I can blow this up a bit more. So when I saw this pattern emerge, even before it got down to where it is now, I thought, oh, that looks like a double top, okay? And we know a double top partly because of the tops. It hit this level of, let's just call it 1015, this level here. Hit it twice pretty evenly, formed what I'll call like a U. Sometimes it's more V-shaped. This could be almost like a W because it's got this little peak in here. For all intents, it is a U-shaped and it has a definite bottom. And how to trade this, because I was asked this question this morning and it was a good question. And you don't know, the only way you know it's a double bottom is if it breaks through past the bottom of the bottom, bottom of, or double top I call it, I'm sorry, this is a double top. So this bottom of this U shaped here, it broke through, that's step 1. Step 2 is as it reapproaches, it doesn't cross back over and keep on going up. Then it would not be really a double top after all. It could be the beginning, and this was a concern of mine, it could be the beginning of what? Another continuation pattern, and then it would have continued on this direction. So if this had crossed through back up again, I would have gotten out. I had a tight stop, maybe right around here at 105, because I didn't want this to come back up into this. Because then if I extend this, you could see, I mean, see there, if, I mean, it just gets so, you just don't know. So this could have been a whole new channel developing here and it would have continued onward. So the key factor, I think the fail safe in understanding this pattern is, I just want to get this bigger. And I'm going to show you a sample in a moment that's more clear. You've got your double top, you've got your bottom, it broke through and tap, 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 tap. It just kind of hovered underneath it. And then it broke on beyond. And by this point, you're in the clear. And you can see it's just continued to meander downward all morning long. Another thing to see, you can see a little line here. To really get into the weeds or the trees that I keep talking about, one way for me to feel more comfortable, okay, so here's the breakout, the presumptive breakout. And then you've got the, do we want to come back up? So if you look real closely, you see a very small little, pardon me, a very small channel here where you've got, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and broke out. And not only did it break out, but it held below. It did not cross back above the line. So that was another indicator for me that this was not going to break through, retrace through here. It was going to keep going. Well, it did by this wick, and it actually went the distance of this little tiny thing here is very small. It's probably like 5 pips, if that. And it went its distance and played itself out. So that could have been the move, this move, done, and now we're going to go back to this way again. So another test is when it pulled back to, as they say, retest this breakout, went back to this trend line. Sure, it shot up above it 3 times with these wicks, but the candle remained firm below the line. So it came up and said, I want to go above this. No, I don't. No, I don't. I give up, and then drop. And this, again, you're seeing this in a zoomed in 1 minute chart. You could see it in a 100-minute chart if there was such a thing. This pattern is the building block, or the nuclear cell. I don't know what you want to call it. One of these days I'm going to look up biology and figure out a good term for this. But this is just the microcosm of every trade we're talking about here. You have a trend, you have 3 points that confirm that the trend is this direction, and then it breaks out, it retests it, and it continues on this way. This is the fundamental of everything that I'm talking about every day. One and only strategy I need. And so there you go. So that is in the most zoomed in micro moment. You can see an example here. Let me make it, I don't know. Let me make this a little more obvious, because in my mind's eye, I see it. Okay, this is not, with all the wicks, doesn't make it very pretty, but you could see where the candles were holding tightly within this very thin channel. And this is what broke out. So sort of etch that in your mind. If you're going to, someday when you can go to a tattoo parlor, get this inked on your hand or your arm, and just remember this pattern. And of course it applies when in the opposite direction too. It goes both ways. But this is the fundamental law, rule, or whatever that we're talking about. Okay, let me get out of here. Oh yeah, I have a little diagram I wanted to share from our friends at whatever website. Forex School Online is who they are. Let me blow it up. Whoop. Blow it up. I don't know. Too big. Let's see. Let me bring it down a little bit more. I might have had it right. Sorry, this is real time. That's the way it is. So I wanted to further illustrate the double top pattern as we were talking about. So you see, you had your first top here, pulled down, what they call the neckline. I didn't use that term, but they call that a neck. So I guess it's like shoulders. Here's the second top. Sure, yeah, this wick shot above it, but for all intents, it pretty well leveled out. And it's a little bit of a guess, but that it's obvious. You can see the two tops. And this looks more like a V, not so much of a U, but you get this pattern where it pulls down, stops short right here. And then we get down to where I was talking about the neckline. And you've got this, wick touching here and here, this kind of dip down. And so it broke through, as I had told you. The next candle held below. We didn't pull back up. Otherwise, what would this be? This would be a sideways channel that would be just ranging along up and down, up and down, up and down before breaking out upward. It's what is a continuation pattern, meaning it's meandering sideways. It's coming from below, going sideways before it goes on. So that's why it's called continuation. It's a continuation of this trend that's been moving up. But it topped out, broke through, and held. And then you have to hold your breath because you don't know if one of these candles is going to break back up again. So it tried, 1, 2, about 4 times, maybe 5 times to try and break through this neckline. It just didn't. And then it continued downward. Okay. So that is pretty much repeating what I just said, but this was an online example that I wanted to show you. And I am getting, there we go. All right, so you can see, hopefully, the two tops, the neckline, the breakout, the consolidation after the breakout, and then a downward move. So how am I doing on this trade and where is it going? I'm going to a 3-minute chart just to kind of get this to fit on the screen. So I entered at 995, which was, I wanted the breakout to occur. Maybe I could have done a little bit higher, but I wanted the breakout to occur and then it to appear to hover in this zone here before I was comfortable that this was a double top. So I entered at this point, or I placed a stop, a sell stop, meaning sell stop is placing a future order, a future sell order that has not occurred. A sell limit, which we haven't talked about much, and I'm going to get you confused a bit, but a sell limit, let's say I thought that this price here was going to pull back up to my previous line, tap it before coming back down again. So I would place a sell limit. And what it really means is the sell is behind you and you're banking on it going up here and you sell when it touches the pullback and then it continues on. A sell stop is in the future or the forward. That's something you might want to Google for a more exhaustive definition. But in this direction, a sell stop would be, let's just say this green line, I'm selling below it. A sell limit, and again, I'm not clear on the terminology why it's called limit, but I'm sure there's definition. I don't need to know really. I just know what it means. Is that you're counting on a pullback high enough to get in earlier on a sell that will go much longer. So the sell limit would be above it, sell stop below. Okay, that is its own little lesson, and I invite you to do your homework on that. It just takes a while to comprehend that. Okay, so where is this heading? And then I need to wrap up. So the breakout was here. Quite honestly, the depth of this double top is much shorter than, I mean, as you can see, I already hit it. It's much like any channel, it's the depth of this from the top to the neck, extended forward. So top to the neck, extend it forward the same distance, and this would be the profit target right here. Well, as you can see, it broke past it now twice. I'm not going to get out of it, even though that would be a safe target. And the reason being is because we've got all this support over here. And again, as we've said before, the market is like a magnet. It likes to find history that it can go back to and touch. So while this has meandered for a couple hours, I still see this coming down ultimately to what I'm going to say 9725 for conversation. I could even say 975. That's very safe. If I did that, see where the green line is? I mean, lots and lots of taps at 975. Okay, so I could take profit there comfortably. I could maybe get a little greedy and push it forward. I'm not as worried about the greedy part in this case because when I look at the bigger picture is ultimately breaking out beyond my profit target, breaking out beyond. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, and we've seen this before, where it'll hit this and bounce and go all the way back up to hopefully not to appear to form a triple top where it's going to flatten out way up here, but probably pull back part way, maybe up to 1.1. That seems right. And that's the stall we keep talking about, where it pulls up and it just doesn't quite make it all the way to the top. Trend reversal signal. before plunging all the way through. I'm not going to ride that wave up and down. I will take my profit here because it's very nice, it's tidy, it's close. There's no reason not to, because as I say every day, there's going to be a new opportunity to get back in. And for all we know, this is a channel all its own right now, and it will break out upward. We can trade that independently of all this. So I'm not worried about, you know, missing pips or not, or being out when it happens. So I think for now I'm just going to let this drop further and see where it ends up. Be happy. It's Friday and it's already 11. Market closes at 2 in my time zone, so hopefully this will profit out by close of market. If not, it'll maybe Sunday afternoon. But the weekend is approaching and nothing else is going to happen, so I wouldn't count on any more trades for today. If you're in this one, great. If not, there's no point in jumping into anything right now. We're about 2 or 3 hours, about 3 hours away from close. So there's just no point in that. All right, that was quite a bit of information, but I wanted to just show you that within the last, let me go out to 5 minutes again, within the last 24 hours, if you will, all this happened. So you see every single day, there's all these opportunities, even at the most micro level, to earn pips. And as I keep saying, depending on the size of the lot you're trading, you know, 70 pips can be $700. I mean, it's not bad. Most of this work you did was sleep. So sleeping on the job and making tons of money. Maybe that should be a new slogan or motto here. All right, I'm going to move our famous bar over to here. And this is where we're ending today. And then who knows, 24 hours forward, well, it won't be 24 hours, it'll be Monday basically, if we'll be all the way down here with another 50 pips. Who knows? It's definitely trending in that direction. All right, that is all for today. Happy Friday. Stay safe, please. Enjoy your weekend. If you're like me, you're impatient until Sunday afternoon, because what are you going to do on Saturday when you're not trading? And you're in your house and not able to go out anywhere, which I won't comment further on that. So at any rate, make the most of it, read a book, have a good time, and relish your profits. The best is yet to come, because the longer we stay in it. All right, enough of that. Thank you again for your attention, and please like this video, please subscribe, do all the YouTube things that I request, please. And so that we can keep doing more. Got to make sure you like this, or I'll just give up and not tell you any more about how to make money. All right, take good care, and we'll speak soon. Bye now.